Okay, so yesterday I was at the end I was telling that we need to work on an assignment, telling that if you give this template to someone, they just have to declare the team name, for example, dev or QA or HR or whatever, DevOps or whatever it is. After that, you need to add a complete string, like let's say something like store ABCXYZ 000, something like this. So I, as a client, I should only be able to tell you that let's say whether it is dev or whether it is QA or whether it is, let's say, a DevOps storage account. What do I really need? So let's get started with that particular approach. And I have also asked you all to look at something called as concatenation. So did anyone look at that, called concat in ARM template, on what do you mean by concatenation, all these things out?
Yes, adding.
Yes. So what exactly is concatenation? What exactly do we mean by concatenation out here?
Adding two or three parameters.
Adding two or three parameters, or very put simply put, adding two or three string values together and forming a unique string, which means that if you give something like this, if you say concat and the function name is called concat, open and close parenthesis, and if you say concat a comma b comma c, your value will be equal to abc. So it will add everything together and it will give you one common string for everything that you have. Again, if you do abcd, you can do abcd out here as such. So you can concat everything together, you can bind everything together out here, and kind of give a unique string as such out there as such. This is what I want to use today. So what I'll do is, let me go ahead into my template. Again, I did a new file. I selected the language called ARM right now. I'll say ARM exclamation. I'll get the entire block. I'll remove my functions right now. I don't need a function. And in this, I would say a new parameter called team name. So I'm putting a new parameter called team name. And in this, I would say allowed values. And in the allowed value section, I'll say it is dev, QA, DevOps, and so on and so forth. What exactly does the allowed value mean here, guys? What do you mean by an allowed value block here? Where is it used? Anyone? Where is allowed value really used out here? Can we just talk about that? Anyone? Any inputs here? What do you mean by allowed value and where is it used? Only those values which are allowed. Yes. And how is it different from a default value? Allowed values versus default values.
Default values are editable, but allowed values are not. We have to select only
Okay.
allowed values.
Okay. Default values is something that you can override. Allowed values is something that you cannot override out here. So I'll say team name. This is the only thing that I'm going to give. And after that, I can give a metadata telling that please pass your team name, the team you belong to. And after that, once this ends at line number 5 and goes to line number 15, I can put a comma here. I can give a location and I can say again this is an allowed value. And I will give only a couple of locations like East US, Central US, and something like North Europe. 3 different locations that my storage account can be created in. If you don't mind, can you just switch the fan off? It's a little soon. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we have something like East US, Central US, and North Europe. I'll say allowed locations. And this is what I'll do right now in the resources. So we start with ARM hyphen storage to create a storage account out here. So once I have the storage account, the name is something that I'm really looking at. Here, the name should be adding the team name, whether it is dev, whatever it is, plus a unique string, something like storage, ABC, XYZ, something like this. It should add two different things out here. And that's the reason I will call something called as a concatenation function. And if you want to call a function, you first need to start with open and close square brackets out here. So if you do an open and close square brackets without a quotation, which I've done here, it represents an array. If you are calling an open or square brackets inside a quotation, this becomes a function call, a predefined function call out here. So I'll just go here inside this particular, let's say square open and close square brackets out here, and I'll look for a function called concat. It's concat open close. It's telling concatenation, and what do you want to concat? I want to concat this particular name called dev, QA, DevOps, and something, which is there or which is being represented by a parameter called team name. So I will say concat parameters team name with something else. So comma in quotations in single quotes. I'll pass something like store ARM 000 XYZ, something like this, something which is unique. So now it will become team name, which is nothing but dev QA HR, I mean dev QA DevOps or something like that, with something like store ARM 000 XYZ, each and everything out here. Again, type will remain the same. Microsoft.storage/storage accounts. I don't want to change the type. Tags, I'll remove this out. Say location. Again, if you want to put a tag here, right? Say tags. And if you want to put a tag for, let's say, the team name, whichever team is, let's say, creating this, I want to put a name called that. So I'll say team name, say parameters, team name. Whichever team is creating, there will be a tag value with that particular team name out here. So you can call your parameters anywhere if you are using this particular function call. So you can call that particular function anywhere out there as such. Again, location now becomes, I'll just remove this out. I'll say parameters location. Okay, this is parameters location out here, and then so this is standard underscore LRS, and this is standard account. I'll save this out. We will say again storage allowed values dot JSON. So I'm giving a file name called storage allowed dot JSON out here, and I have this entire template right now with me to create a particular storage account as such out there. Is any questions still here? Anyone, any questions still here? Okay, so let's go there into our let's say Azure portal. And how do I deploy a template, guys? How should I deploy a template? I have a template with me. How should I deploy this out? What should I be doing to deploy this out?
First, we have to save, and then we have to go to the Azure portal and select
Okay,
deploy a template
select deploy a
and
template,
load
exactly. So good.
files.
So selected deploy custom template and
System.
say build your own template out here. Say load this file and open that particular file out here. Save. I'll say something like demo rgarm, some resource group, and this is the region of the resource group it is asking for. I'll say this is ECS2. I'll say team name right now is an allowed value. So I have dev, QA, and DevOps. Let's say I put DevOps here, and I'll say location is ECS. So now, if you see, it's all a drop down. It's like a utility right now. You don't have to do anything. Just select the drop down, say review and create. So as a client, It's made things very easy for me. I just need to select the drop down out there. I'll say select this out, and it's telling validation is fast. I'll say create, and once I hit the create button, it just goes ahead, initializes the template deployment, and tells it, okay, fine, you know what? Now you have a template. Go ahead, deploy this out, and this will go ahead and now start creating a storage account with a name called DevOps plus this entire string, because it is team name plus this entire string that is getting added. And if you just refresh, this is what the storage account name will look like right now. It's DevOps store ABCXYZ, something like that, but with starting with something like DevOps out here as such. Yes, any questions still here that I can take? And if I go into the resource, now I have the entire resource out here called, let's say, the DevOps storage and all that stuff. And also, if you look at this, the team name is also added as a tag value out here. Reason being, you have a tag value, or you have mentioned, let's say, something known as a tag value out here as such. Yes, any questions still here? Anyone, any questions still here? Yes, anyone, any questions still here that I can take? Any questions so far? Are we good? Shall I move forward? Are we good till here? Shall I move forward? Any questions that any questions? Anyone who's not following? Anyone who wants a re-explanation, please let me know.
Hello.
Uh,
Can we change
Hmm?
tag values once it is created?
I'm sorry, can you come again, please?
Can we change tag values once it is created?
Yes, you can change the tag value. Again, tag value is something that you can edit from the portal. So here, if I come here, want to edit this out, I can edit it from the portal. So if you are able to edit it on the portal, you can also go ahead and change the tag value and kind of redeploy this out.
Okay, so to change it, we have to go to the portal, not from here, not from the ARM templates.
No, from the template, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Script is not reusable with the same team name. That's right. Script is not reusable with the same team name. That's true. But if you want to, let's say, have a reusable script with the same team name again and again, then instead of giving, let's say, something like storage 000xyz, you can just go ahead and use something called as a unique, let's say, something called, let's see, there's something called unique string function. Let's talk about that. Unique string. So there is something called unique string, which says, okay, fine, a unique string from the resource group ID, or unique string from the deployment name and all that stuff, which tells you that, you know what, if you put this, for example, let's say if you check this example out here, it's saying concat storage unique string from the resource group ID out here as such, which means, let's go back. Instead of putting, okay, instead of placing something like this, instead of placing something called team name plus, let's say, a standard string, if I say a unique string, and it's now going to ask me what is the ID out here. So let's go back, say this is resource group dot ID. So I'll say resource group forward, dot ID out here, which is just telling that, you know what, whichever resource group that they're deploying, get a unique property from that and bind it with the team name. So I'm not using a regular team name right now. I'll just save, and let's redeploy this out right now again with the same team name and etc. So let's come back. Let's go into the resource group, or let's go into the custom deployment. Let's build your own template. Let's load this file. I'll just save. Again, I'll select the same resource group. I'll select the same location. I'll select the same team name, DevOps. I'll select the same location, ECUS, and review and create this out. So what this is going to do, let's see. So I'm now putting something called as a unique string out here. Again, I've taken this function. You can just copy this out and paste it in your, let's say, template file. You don't have to really remember the syntax out here. But what it does is that this generates a unique string for you. So if I now go ahead and deploy this out, let's say create this out, and let's deploy, and let's see what you get here. So it's a custom template deployment, and it's now starting the deployment right now. And let's see how our deployment really looks like out here right now as such. So let me refresh the screen, and this is now my storage account. DevOps TTS 5Q, something like this. It has generated a unique string out here, a random string out here. Attach that random string to whatever team name that you have, something called DevOps. In this way, your template is, let's say, reusable. Whenever you deploy it out, you will get a unique resource group. Sorry, you will get a unique storage account name every time you redeploy this out here. So every time I redeploy it, I'll be getting a unique storage account name, and I'll be able to create all these things out here right now. So if you look at the demo ARM right now in the resource group, again, it'll take some time to load this particular storage account. But if I go into that particular resource, let's refresh this out a couple of times. Now I have the same template, the same team name, the same location, everything, but I got a new storage account out here as such. So this is where you can be using something called as a unique string function in place of what you had, something like a standard string out there. So in place of, let's say, something that you passed, you can just take the unique string, attach it with whatever is the team name. This will give you a unique storage account name every time you create it out there as such. Yes. Any questions still here? Anyone? Any questions still here? Again, I just use this particular property from the ARM template documentation. I do not even know myself how to write it. So I don't really mug this out. I go to the documentation, understand what this documentation is talking about, copy that out, place it in. So now it's telling concat. We have a concat in our template. We have after that, it's telling storage, but in place of that, I have parameters, team name, and after that, comma, placed something called as a unique string out here as such, which will give me the team name plus that particular unique string out here as such out there. Yes, any questions that I can take till here before I move forward? Anyone who's not following or anyone who's confused about this? Any questions till here? Anyone, any questions till here that I can take?
Hello.
Good, please.
Yeah. If we would like to create two storage accounts in one resource group,
Mm-hmm.
in that case, is this unique string will generate new one, or is it throw any error?
No, it won't throw any error. It will generate a new one. But again, if you say that you want two storage accounts in the same resource group, you'll have to redeploy your template twice because one template will only create one storage account for you. So if you redeploy it again, then it's going to
Okay.
go ahead and create a new storage account as such for you.
Okay.
Yes, and that's where a resource iteration, kind of a concept kind of brings to me. Now, the point here is that, see, I don't want to redeploy this template again and again. Rather, I have a requirement such a way that I have one particular JSON file, which is nothing but my ARM template. Using this JSON, I want to go ahead and try creating multiple storage accounts. For example, let's say I'll put the storage account out here. Let's start with about two storage accounts. Two different storage accounts. I just want to go ahead and create this out. I just want to make two copies of my storage account. Let's say the first storage account is called something like this. I'll just copy the name. Just paste it out here. The first storage account is called uh, dev store abcxyz0001. Second storage account is called dev storage abcxyz0002. Okay, let me type this in. So the same, but with two at the end. I'm not sure why I'm not able to type, but yes, dev store abcxyz0002. These are the two storage accounts that I want, just using one simple template. So let's go there into our, let's say, template again. let's say Control N. Let's select a language again and say Azure Resource Manager. In order to get started with the blank template, what should I do, guys? How should I get started with? What should I write here?
ARM.
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 Just put something called ARM. It will give you a blank
Okay.
template. Remove the function part. We don't need that right now. And I'll straight dive into the resources. And I will now say ARM hyphen storage. This is the first storage account that I have. And the name that I want for my storage account, the name that I want for my storage account is something like this. Let me copy this out. This dev store abc xyz0001 is the first storage account that I want. Again, tags, I don't need a tag. I'll remove this out. I want the storage account in a location called eastus2. So I'll just go ahead write this as eastus2. I'll say this is standard LRS. I'll say this is standard. This is my first storage account. I did not do any parameters. I didn't do anything. But if you want a parameter, you can say new parameter storage name 1. First storage account name. You can give something called as a default value. And in the default value, you can just copy this name out here. In the default value, you can just copy this name out here. And in place of dev storage 001, you can take this out and you can say parameters storage name 1. This is something that you can do. You can replace that particular name with a parameter. Good. What if I need a second storage account right now? What should I do if I want a second storage? This is just the first storage account, but my requirement is that using one template, I want to create two different storages. As of now, I am just creating one storage. So if you click on the I button here, it will tell you I'm just creating one storage out here as such. What if I want the second one? What should I do here? Can I create multiple resources inside the resources block? Can I? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes, because this is an array. This is
To
an
come
array of
after.
resources.
We can use second
Yes.
parameter. Like
Second parameter, yes, okay, fine. I'll do a second parameter. I'll say storage 2 and the same name but with 2 at the end. Let's see, okay, I put this in type, sorry. Type a string. I'll set default value with 2 at the end out here. Second parameter, yes, I declared a second parameter. Do I have to do anything in my resources block? Do I have to put anything in my resources block out here? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes, we have to.
Yes.
Yes.
In the
Yes.
Same
name, in
resource
the
we have to
name,
just copy paste and replace with
Mm-hmm.
storage name 2.
Okay, let's see. So you want me to copy paste this entire thing?
Yes.
So I copied this entire thing. I'll put a comma here. Whenever you want to place a different object, put a comma at the end, paste it out, and say this is instead of storage 1, I'll say
Storage name 2.
storage 2. So I have two different storage accounts right now. So let's save this out. Let's say
Can we click on I
multiples.
button?
Just a second. I'll just save this file and I'll click on the I button.
Yes.
So it's save. And let's click on the I button right now. Two storage accounts right now. I have two different storage accounts that are getting created out of it.
Yes. So
Right. So
I button is basically nothing but we can see here whether we are going correctly or not,
yes,
right?
correct. So it'll just help you tell. So this is called a visualizer. It'll just help you tell, are you creating it fine? If let's say when you are working in real time, right, using one template, you create hundreds of resources. So I just want to understand whether my template changes is not breaking anything. Is this visualization okay? If I'm okay with the visualization, then I can go ahead and deploy my templates.
I have one more doubt here. As it is only we are creating to a storage account, we went
Hmm.
ahead and we copy pasted, right?
Correct.
Suppose we have n number of a storage account to create. In
Hmm.
that case,
In that case, I'll talk about that. Let's see this first example.
mhm.
Want to see
Okay.
that, but yes, it's a good, let's say, valid point. Let's say if there is only two storage accounts, you can just go and copy paste. What if there are three? Then I'll again copy and paste one more. What if there are four? Then I'll again come back, copy paste one more. What if there are 20? I'll have to do 20 different times. What if there are 200? I'll have to do 200 different times. Imagine the length of my template, right? So because here two storage accounts are giving me, let's say, around 43 lines of code. Imagine 20 different storage accounts, right? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that scenario. But let's
Sure.
see if this template is really working or not. Let's see how it is working, and let's see what it does. Again, I'm creating two different storage accounts. Each and every storage account is taking around 2 minutes to be created. This is the average time. So how much time will this template take? Each storage account is taking 2 minutes to be created. So how much time will this template take? Should this template take to be deployed?
8 minutes.
I'm sorry. Come again, please.
8 minutes.
8 minutes. How is it eight? It's four, right? It's two plus two. One storage account is two.
But we
The other
didn't
is two.
mention the resource for particular storage account, right? So maybe it will be create one resource with the two storage accounts.
One resource with two storage accounts. So let's see that. Let's check that out. So let's go into the Azure portal, and I would like to create this in a new resource group. So I'll just say deploy the template. So build your own template. Load the file. I'll say multiple storage. I'll say save this out. I'll create a new resource group. I will say something like demo multiple. I'll say okay. Just scroll down. I'll say this is ECUS2. Now if you see, I have two different storage accounts called demo store abc xyz001 and 002. This is coming from my template. I'll say review and create. It's running some validations in the background to understand whether your template that you pass, is it everything good and all that stuff. Let's give it a second. And again, even in the basic, right, once you pass this, you can click on visualize. It'll load some file called resource visualizer. It'll be a little slow, but it will do the job. Two different, let's say, templates out here. Sorry, two different storage accounts out here. So I'll say review and create this out. And I'll also come here and say review and create. So once I hit the review and create button, it's going to go ahead and let's see what is the time it really takes out here to deploy two different storages out here. So I have two different storages. I'm deploying this out. So let's check this out on how the deployment really goes through right now. So let's wait and let's refresh the screen. So it's creating the first, and also parallelly it's creating the second. See, one of the advantages of ARM templates or declarative syntaxing is that they are parallel in nature. Unlike PowerShell, if you do PowerShell out here, you have to go to this first storage account, then wait for it to be created, go to the second, third, fourth, and etc. Here it is parallel in nature out here. So the time it takes for the first storage account to be created is the same time if you, let's say, put 20, 200, whatever it is. 3 minutes for one storage account, 3 minutes for all the storage accounts. That will reduce the number of hours that you actually spend in resource creation. So now if you go to the resource group, I have one, I have two, created two different storage accounts, same properties, everything is same. Great. But again, issue here is this. What if there are 20? What if there are 200? What if there are so many resources that I can really not handle? What if there are so many things out here? Now that's where resource iteration as a concept comes into picture. Meaning just using one block, I want to create multiple objects like n number of storage accounts out here. N number. n number of, let's say, storages that I want to go ahead and create out here. Did we do this in PowerShell? Did we do something called resource iteration in PowerShell? Did we try doing resource iteration in PowerShell, guys? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes. So we use something called for loop, for each loop,
For loop.
and
For
we did
loops.
all these things out here. I want to implement the same logic of resource iteration in the template, but I again cannot be writing something called for or for each. See, the reason being, this is an ARM template. It has its own language. You cannot write a PowerShell script here. The language it supports is Azure Resource Manager template only. This is the language what it supports out here. So what I'll do is that I'll now slide into a concept called as, now we looked at a function called unique string is something that we looked at. We looked at concat. I want to now look at a function called as copy index ARM templates. Just scroll down. This is what it tells you. The article shows you how to do by adding copy loop and all that stuff. A copy loop is adding by this one. Copy limits. The count cannot be exceeded, or the count basically cannot be something like 800. The count can't be a negative number. Meaning at one time you can max create 800 resources at one go. You cannot go beyond 800. This is the maximum support what ARM or the copy index does out here. So let's look at how it, let's say, really creates. So they have a couple of examples on how it creates and all that stuff. Let's do that. Let's come back into our template and let's create a new template this time. Say ARM. I'll say again ARM, something like this. I'll remove the functions part and I'll say storage name. I'll give a default value. I'll give a default value here, telling it is demo store mul multiple, something like this, xyz 000. I am not giving this number. Now the storages that I want are something like this, xyz 0001 for the first storage account, xyz 0002 for the second storage account, xyz 003 for the third storage account, and etc. Which means what is happening? This is what is happening. I am
Incrementing.
adding whatever value is there plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 for each and every time. So this is what I'm doing right now, which means I will implement some kind of a concatenation between what? Storage name and one for the first time, second for the third time, or second for the second time, third for the third time, three for the third time. Getting the concept, guys? Getting what I'm trying to do here? Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah. Yes.
You
Yes.
all agree with this? Yes, so let's go there. So
Yes,
I
Kev.
will say, yes, I'll say this is the storage base name, a base name for the storage account. After that, I'll go into my resources. I will just call my ARM hyphen storage only one time out here. I'll remove the name, okay? And I'll say to call a function again, open close square brackets, concat. And what should I concat? What should I do here? What all should I be concatenating here?
Parameters.
Parameters,
Storage name.
parameters, parameters, storage name with what? Comma. What should I
Okay.
concat this with? Copy index. That's what I'll do. Instead of doing one for the first time, two for the second time, and etc., I will put something called as a copy index out here. This acts like the I inside your for loop, which basically goes ahead, gives you 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. And now, as and when I declared copy index, there is this error that is coming up. telling that the template function failed, validation failed, copy index is not expected here, and all that stuff, because I did not tell how many times it should go or how many times it should deploy this out. For which I'll just do an enter. Let's say call a function called copy or call a key value pair copy out here. Say copy. It expects primarily two things. One being the name. You can give any name here. I'll say storage account copy. I'll say comma, and then you have the count. How many times you want to just say go ahead and say copy this out. I'll say count is 3. Let's say I want 3 different storage accounts out here. That's it. I'll scroll down. I'll say this is ECS2. I'll remove this value and say come down with, let's say, a parameter called ECS out here. I'll say this is standard LRS. I'll say this is standard. Now I have my template. In my template, I have parameter storage name copy index. Now I have a copy value 0, 1, 2, whatever it is. I'll save this out. Say this is copy index dot json file. Now let me go back into my resource groups. I'll say deploy a custom template once again. I'll say build your own template, load the file. I'll say copy index. I'll say OK. I'll say save. I'll say new resource group. I'll say copy index rg. I will say just go ahead and say this is ECS2. And I have the storage account base name. If you click on this, this is the storage base name out here. I'll say review and create this out. Let's see how it really behaves right now. I'll just go ahead and review create this out. And I'll say initialize deployment. And once I initialize this deployment, I'll see how the deployment really goes through right now. So let me refresh the screen a couple of times. And how many storage account are you expecting to create here? 3.
3.
Let's check that one. Yes. Let's check that out. I have 3 different storages that I'm getting right now, starting from 0, 1, and 2. So let's look at this. So I have storage multiple. This is the base name. This entirely is the base name till 000. After that, 1 got added, 2 got added, 3 got added. 3 different storage accounts getting created parallelly using one template, which is common template out here for me. I did not, let's say, copy this 3 different times. Here I did multiple storages. For 2 storages I had this big template out here. So if I just compare both of them, let's compare this out. If I just compare both of them, in the left hand side I have implemented something called as a copy indexing, and I'm creating 3 different storage accounts. It's ending at 36 lines. If you put 100 also, it will basically get end at 36 lines only, because here you can just say it is 100. You can just change the value to 100 out here. Let's put this back at 3. And in the right hand side, this is just 2 storage accounts going to 46 lines. Imagine if it is 100, the number of lines would have gone to thousands or something like that. If I would have put so many lines out there. I mean, for just 2, it is 46 lines of code. If I just come down, put one more thing for the third storage account, number of lines keeps on getting increased. Each and every time when I add, 10 lines are getting increased out there. So for every storage, 10 lines are getting increased, which is not a good sign. But in the left hand side, when you put a copy index, things get kind of easy for you. Things get kind of, let's say, modular for you out there. I say don't save, yes. Things get easy for you. So copy index is a way to go out here to go ahead and implement your storages or implement your infrastructure and make multiple copies out of it. So now I have 3 different copies. So if I just refresh the screen, 3 different copies of my storage account that I do have out here as such. Yes, any questions till here? Anyone, any questions till here?
Hello?
Good, please.
Sir, if you have any multiple locations in
Multiple locations we'll talk about it. What if I want to create storage account but two in, yes, premium LRS, yes. Good question. We'll talk about that. We'll see how do you go ahead and do multiple locations, multiple, let's say things like, for example, Deepak is asking if I want have four, two with standard LRS, two in premium LRS. Yes. Is that possible? Definitely yes. It's also possible using a simple copy index block. We'll also talk about those examples out here. But let's understand the very simple basic copy, seeing how the copy really works out here on a very basic level, and let's expand our knowledge on top of it. Yes, any
How,
questions till here? Hmm?
how can we make it reusable?
Sorry, how can you make it? Can you come again, please?
How can we make the template reusable as per the client requirement?
When you say reusable, what exactly do you mean by that?
That the client can change the count to
Hmm.
4, 5, or anything.
Okay, change the count to 4 5. Then what should I do here then? You should tell me right now. If you want this to be reusable, then what should I do out here?
Think we should declare a new parameter.
We can use a declarative parameter. Great, that's correct. So I can say, okay, I'll just dismiss this. I can say parameter telling count, right? I can give a parameter, but the type of the parameter is not a string right now. It becomes int, integer. It's an integer value. Here you can say the minimum number, or the minimum, you can have a minimum value, maximum value, and all that stuff. So you can say a minimum value is something like, let's say 2. Maximum value, you can say something like 10. You're putting something called a minimum and a maximum limit, telling that minimum the client has to declare a value called 2, maximum it is 10. Only this is possible. And in here, instead of telling it is count as 3, you can say parameters count. Let's just save this out right now. Now if I go back into my template, say deploy this template out here, say build your own template, load this file, say copy index, I'll just save this out. Again, I'll just select the same resource group, copy index arg, and here count. I cannot simply come here, put 100 out here. Again, if it's now telling this is okay, but if I review and try to create this out, it'll simply fail because the number here cannot be maximum than, let's say, or the number here should only be between these two values. I've declared a range out here telling it is 2 and 10. So I cannot put 100 out here as such and then try to create this out. But yes, to answer to your question, you can just put a 2 here or a 3 here or 4 or something like that, and you can have the resources created. So now this count is coming from the client and not from your template. Now your template becomes reusable. Does it answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Any more questions here,
Sir,
please?
sir,
Good, please.
sir, here it is taking name like storage 12012. What if
Hmm.
when we want to take with a different when we want to create with different storage names, it is taking
Yes.
sequence, right?
Yes, it's taking a sequence right now. So the good question here is that what if I want different storage names? It's taking a sequence. Yes, you can
Mhm.
also do that. How can you do it? Just go through the examples. Just go to the example, and I'll any which ways explain it tomorrow on how, let's say, basically you do it with different storage name and etc. But just go to this particular link. What is copy index? How can I really use it? What we are doing right now is you are doing a simple copy. And in tomorrow's session, what I'll do is that I'll say, what if I have three different names? What if I have three different names created in three different locations, created in three different tiers like standard LRS, premium LRS, and all that stuff? These are the questions that I'm going to answer. But before that, please have a look at it. Just scroll down. It's telling if you go ahead and do this, you'll get storage 0, storage 1, storage 2. Three different things out here.
Okay.
If you want starting values not to be 0, to be 1, you say copy index in brackets 1. It'll say 1, 2, and 3. If you put a 50 here, it'll say 50, 51, 52. It's called an offset value. Here, if you come back into your template as of now, I did not declare something called as an offset. Starts by default at 0. But
Hmm.
if I put an offset value, for example, let's say I put an offset called 50. How do I put this? Inside the bracket, I'll say 50. So the value here starts from 50, goes to 51, goes to 52. This is how it will go ahead and let's say offset it out. But if you now want a different, let's say, names, not the same sequence, a different name out here, just go back into your example, and this is what it's telling you. The following example creates one storage for each name provided in the parameter. They are
Hmm.
parameters, and if you scroll down, they are using copy index out here. So the way they are using copy index is slightly different. So I just want you all to just take a look at it, and we'll anyways ways talk about this in the tomorrow's class on how do you, let's say, copy multiple things. Meaning I have three different names. How do I do three different names out here? What if I want three different names in three different locations? What if I want three different names in three different locations and also three different SKUs? Like the first storage account should be created in large, second should be created in premium, third should be created in something like standard RAGRS or standard GRS and etc. So this is what we are going to let's say look at.
Okay.
Okay, okay, I think I send the link out here. So please take this link and just go through the documentation for now for and just try it out. See what you learn from the documentation, and we'll continue tomorrow to explain much more things like going into the advanced copy section out here. So today's session, I just want to make sure that everyone is comfortable with the basic copy, understanding what really copy index is, where can it be used, how is it better than a normal template, and what all that you can do out here as such. Yes, any questions still here?
Yeah, one thing I want to know.
Good,
While
please.
creation of storage account, we are not giving any access tier actually, hard, cool like that.
Correct, correct.
So if we
hmm
want to give any hot or cool at the time of
hmm
uh, this JSON code. So
okay,
was there any chance?
yes, we can do that again. uh, coming back to your question, just go to ARM template documentation, go to the template documentation,
Okay.
say references section, just go here, template references. In here, just look for your storage account. Let's say storage account out here. Let's go back storage. Let's say storage accounts. And here, I want to look at an ARM template definition. Now, this is everything that you can pass here. Everything that you can pass. And do you see something called access tier? Wherein it is telling this is
Yeah.
a string, telling hot or cool, which comes under something called properties. So it's coming under something called properties. So what I can do is that using this particular example, I can just say comma, I'll just say properties. Inside the properties, again, how do I know properties is, let's say, this flower bracket? Looking at this particular example out here, I'll say access tier. Now I can put hot or cool or hot out
Okay.
here as such. So these are all the things that you can actually declare under the properties, and one of those things is access tier. So I can put a property block and say hot or cool out here as such.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. And one more assignment that I want to give you all is that I have now showed you all how to create a storage account. Can you create a container inside a storage account using an ARM template? That's what I want you to try. Again, template references. There is something called blob services. Go inside it. It will tell you how do you go ahead and create something known as a container. Let's see whether there's a container. Yes, there's containers. It'll tell you how to go ahead and create something known as a container out here. This is a simple block to create a container. It's telling name, it's telling the type, Microsoft storage account blob services containers, name, default value, public access, private or container level, let's say, or blob level access. So please take a look at this particular example and just come back into your, let's say, template. After the sense, say ARM hyphen storage, that you see something called as blob container. Just select this out, sorry, storage blob container out here. Selling, how do you go ahead and create something called as a blob container inside your storage account out here as such. So these are the two things that I want you all to do today. Firstly, please go into the copy index documentation, try to implement the copy index, and also look at how do you create something known as a storage container inside a particular storage account that you have created. So these are the two things that I want you all to focus on.